Hello there. I'm going to interview today Swami Mahalayananda. He lives in Portugal at the moment. He has 22 years of experience in teaching Tantra, meditation, yoga. He's also a certified psychotherapist, working with individuals and couples. Musician as well. He also has a law degree. He's a multi-talent, and he also has given a TED Talk if you're interested on decision making. So today I wanted to talk to you about Tantra and what Tantra has to say about sexuality. So first of all, thank you for taking the time to talk to me. First question would be general. What is Tantra? How would you define Tantra?
First of all, thank you for having me here.
Mm-hmm.
Tantra has a little bit different definitions. If you go straight to the word, many would translate it as tools for networking, in the sense that Tantra sees the universe as a big network where everything is connected with everything else, in the same way as, for example, quantum physics also nowadays presents the universe. What is essential about Tantra is where many spiritual teachings are exclusive. Some exclude, which we'll talk. I understand we talk about sexuality. Some teachings from two schools, for example, if you want to be in a monastic order, you want to be a priest or whatever, then often in many traditions, for example, they exclude sexuality or couple relationships, or other things are excluded, which is one way, where Tantra is rather all-inclusive. A typical aspect for the classical Tantra is to try to spiritualize every single aspect of life.
Okay.
And include all aspects of life as a spiritual practice. In other words, to have, you can say, to deify every aspect of your life.
Okay.
Without exclusion. And both ways are valid.
Yeah.
It's more like a matter of your personality and your temperament and your path in life, which way would fit you better.
And it seems to me like if you live in this society here, the tantric way seems a little easier in a way, or a little closer, or is that wrong? Like, because I couldn't really imagine to live in this world and have a job, etc., and live like the classical yogic life, like with abstinence, and I guess.
A classical yogic life could include abstinence, yes, because brahmacharya is usually in the yogic tradition translated as abstinence.
Yeah.
Meaning no sex. It is true. And for this reason also we find for modern people, for the modern style of life, Tantra seems to fit a lot of people better. Not that it's necessarily easier as a path, because it has a lot of tests through it, but it seems more fit to a modern lifestyle, because you don't have to split your life in this way. You don't have to split yourself from society or from having a normal life, even family life and so on.
Don't have to sit in a cave all your life.
No, not and if we are talking about Tantra, of course, the purpose of Tantra and yoga both are really enlightenment. And usually the yogic path would describe a more seclusive life, where the tantric says, well, what the yogi tried to obtain in the cave, we try to obtain in the middle of life.
Nice. But also Tantra and yoga are related in a way, right?
Of course. No yoga, no Tantra.
Yeah.
So you have to include yogic practice in Tantra. There's some that says where the yoga ends is sort of where the Tantra continues.
Okay, so let's get to the topic of sexuality.
Yeah.
So obviously Tantra is not only about sexuality. I think that became clear now. It's like a holistic system that encompasses everything.
Yeah.
But so it also deals with sexuality, right?
Yes, very much so.
Yeah. So how does Tantra deal with sexuality, or what? How can we imagine tantric lovemaking, for example? How is it different from regular lovemaking?
Yeah, let me just answer one thing first, that we maybe step forward, because in the tantric tradition there are two currents. which is, you can say, a double way of interpreting what we call brahmacharya, the control over the sexual or creative potential. And where for the yogi, in the typical translation would be abstinence. And for some people, at least for periods of their life, maybe abstinence would be the right thing, even for tantric. The thing is that Tantra includes a severe practice around the erotic life, but as it is for modern people today, we have what we, let me just explain that, for the abstinence is often referred to as the right current of Tantra, which right-hand path, which means a path that is just focused on meditations, on powerful techniques of different kinds, and integration of life per se, where the left current includes also actual practical sexual life.
I see.
And there is though some conditions from a spiritual standpoint, because the sexual energy is equivalent to our creative potential, a potential that can be used outside to create a baby, for example, when when a man ejaculates, or when we do what we call transmutation and sublimation, meaning we transform the sexual fluids back into energy through techniques, and then we lift that energy to place it at will at different levels of consciousness in our body and feed in a direct way these levels of consciousness, so it can be used outside to create a baby, inside to create higher consciousness.
Okay. So now, as a scientist, I would, of course, have the first remark, like, does this really work, or is that just a fantasy, like that you can transmute the energy and lift it up, like, is that...
Yeah, it's a long scientific discussion that has been whether there exist transformation of matter at bodily temperature. But there are lots and lots of experiments that's been done also with animals that have proven without a shred of a doubt that it actually is possible to change even at the atomic level. Inside the human body, inside animal bodies too, that can actually transform one element to another. Many experiments have already proven this.
Yeah, that's this idea of transmutation, right? That one element can change in another element.
Yes, but mostly we are more focused on transforming the actual physical elements into back into energy, into activated energy that then can be used to feed the consciousness.
Okay, so practically, if you don't ejaculate, you have this energy available, and how do you move it to other areas of your body or of your consciousness even?
Well, the basic thing is that in the yogic and tantric tradition, there are very, very many, hundreds and hundreds of techniques, if not thousands of techniques, how to learn to mostly actually control the energy. Many people today think yoga is about flexibility and the physical body, which is really just a total beginner's level of yoga. A slightly more advanced level of yoga, you learn to control your energy, emotions, and the mind too. And with control, we don't mean suppression, but that you can guide all of that at will. For example, that you can choose your state of consciousness. Do you want to be happy? It's very much a matter of controlling frequencies within your body, a little bit like controlling a radio system, because that's how we work.
Okay. And in the case, so during lovemaking, you would already do that, yeah?
But it requires a training beforehand, preferably, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like going to the Olympics and you didn't practice first. That doesn't work, right?
So you practice it maybe also on your own without a partner to kind of feel sexual energy or other energies, and
not just sexual energy, but energy per se.
So emotions are also energy.
Energy, right? Emotion. Let's put it like this: emotions is an expression of energy.
Yeah.
Like erotic desire is an expression of energy. As many people know, you can have a strong erotic desire, something happens, and in a moment it's gone. Where did it go? It just changed frequency.
Okay. And where would you lead this energy? So I mean, I guess a lot of people already experience nice states during lovemaking. Also when they do regular lovemaking, right? They may be very in love and feel tender.
Exactly.
And maybe they also feel very good to ejaculate, and the men, and afterwards to just relax and cuddle up. So these are already beautiful states. So what would Tantra add, like even more beautiful states? Or
well, let's put it like this. I can say as a man who also ejaculated when I was young, that the moment after ejaculation is not a beautiful state.
It's not?
There are many men, it feels pleasurable while happening. Afterwards, it's not a beautiful state. Because it's a state of exhaustion for most men. Some men are happy about it because they're very stressed and they have all this stressful energy. And one of the problems with this, for example, today is that many men, they ejaculate all that stress out. And you can see where that stress goes. You can imagine what that will do inside their lover. That's very damaging, actually, and it's part of how you destroy a relationship.
Okay, if you just use your partner for
stress
releasing your
release.
sex.
Many use each other's like this, and it's a very damaging way to use each other's in a relationship. Much better to give a massage. No, for many men, there are many men who don't even want to ejaculate after some years because they notice that they get exhausted, they fall asleep afterwards. The girl want to cuddle, and they're just passing out.
Wants to have more sex.
Want to have more sex. The problem for men is, and there's sort of the three levels in it. Most regular men, they understand that pleasure for them, now you mentioned ejaculation before, pleasure comes together with ejaculation. The fact is that ejaculation and orgasm are two different centers in the brain. So you can separate them, so you can actually have the orgasm without the ejaculation, also for men. And the advantage is that since the sperm and the energy and the sexual secretions go together for a man, if he can have orgasmic states but without losing his energy, these energies that uphold it, then he can continue literally as much as he, you can say, has athletic abilities to do. But the problem for men is they ejaculate, and the male orgasm is often very unfulfilling, actually, at any other level than the stress level. But again, it's like it's too heavy to carry all the money I just earned, let me throw them away. Instead of let's invest them inside. So
so the man could have several orgasms, right?
The man can become multiple orgasms, yes. Just like a woman, as many as he wishes. If he doesn't lose his energy, because that energy that goes together with the sperm is his very life energy. It's his life, it's his consciousness that pours out of him.
But people say actually that not ejaculating could also be unhealthy, right? That's a concern that people have. And one answer I heard to that is that you cannot just simply stop ejaculating. That's not good, probably, but that you have to do the sublimation exercises and do something with energy. Otherwise, it will also not be good.
Correct. This is another level, because the first level people have that they have more ordinary sex, which usually doesn't last very long for most people, and leaving mostly the woman unhappy. The second level in it is that many men learn some tantric techniques so they can become better athletes. So they can really perform in bed. They can be there for hours and make love. But the problem is, if you don't do something with the energy, you will expand very, very strongly your amount of energy at the sexual level, which means at these lower levels of your being, they will start creating havoc. I had a student some years ago who stopped ejaculating, but after 3 weeks he phoned me because, as he said, he had so much energy, he couldn't sleep, he couldn't think about anything other than sex. So he had to learn how to deal with that much energy, because it's an immense amount of energy. What I see with young men when they stop ejaculating is they get much more energy. They cut at least 1 to 2 hours of their sleep away. They don't need it anymore. They need less energy, less food. And for women, I see them much more shiny, much more full of energy. And I see with women, for example, things such as menstrual problems disappear.
One concern I have about this whole story of continence is, of course, that it might make people feel guilty about their natural body functions, right? Just like they used to tell children, "Oh, masturbating is bad because you know," and then it made a lot of people feel very guilty about their sexuality. So, what would you respond to?
No, it's a natural thing. Masturbation. Some children start very, very young, investigating themselves, and we need to learn how we function.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you wish, and there's no condemning in it or judgment, it's really a quite a simple how things work. That when you stop ejaculating, is not the point of stopping ejaculation. It's actually rather you gain a perfect control over your sexual energy. And very important is, which is a high level, is yet that there's not the focus on sex in Tantra, because there's the focus on lovemaking.
Yeah.
So it's very, very important that we focus on the tantric love relationship. Yes, there has to be the desire, but it must be based in love.
Love, yeah.
Because then you feed all that energy, for example, into love. And you create an immensely deep relationship at the level of the soul. That instead of it's just two people using each other's bodies for mutual satisfaction, it becomes two souls that meld in the most fulfilling communion that two people can actually have together, namely to realize themselves beyond the ego, but as two souls
that become one. And two become one.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so now I'm curious, how is it for the women with the continence? So for the men it's obvious. For the women?
Women are naturally endowed in this.
Yeah.
For example, with explosive orgasm and so on, some women have learned some very bad habits, but mostly because they learn to copy the male sexuality. They think they have to have it the same way as men have. Where actually many women are naturally endowed with implosive orgasms. And I've seen this with many women that within a month, for example, their loss of energy also, for example, through menstruation is cut down to half or much less. That over a period of time, menstruation gradually disappeared, not with loss of fertility, but there's not that loss of energy anymore. Everything harmonizes, they become very powerful, very shiny, self-confident. And of course the fulfillment of multiple orgasmic states.
So explosive orgasm means as a woman that I also lose my energy, right? Just to clarify this. So that I have an orgasm and then I feel tired afterwards. Yes. And an implosive orgasm is when a woman can keep on going. Yeah,
it's like a recycling of the energy, and it becomes just more and more and more. And actually the orgasmic states can come with shorter and shorter intervals and last longer and longer. I mean, in cases when both women, but even men, can have orgasmic states that continues more than 1 hour, for example.
Wow.
Why? Because when you first reach that plateau phase, when you become skilled in it, you can just maintain it.
Okay.
Both men and women. But you have to realize that orgasm is actually an enlightening state.
Enlightening state?
Yes, because in the moment of orgasm, what are you thinking about? Nothing. No mind. For yoking, that can take years to attain. During orgasm, where's your ego? The ego is gone, right? In other words, you have a mindless, egoless state. So if you can just use the tantric technique to extend the orgasmic state, so you can experience it. Yeah. The reason why most regular people don't realize it is the moment the man ejaculates, the energy that should fuel that state and make it continue is gone. It's like you have a rocket that goes 10 meters and then it drops again, never reaches the moon.
Yeah. Okay.
It's very much a matter of consciousness, awareness, practice of control over the energy that allows you to do it. And specifically when you can do that, you start realizing that the orgasmic state is merely a very, very powerful expansion of your consciousness, which allows you to discover what is really there.
Yeah.
Because now you have the time. It doesn't last a few seconds, it lasts maybe even hours. Because instead of an orgasm is something that comes and then after a while comes another one, then the orgasmic state can become a continuous state of being.
Oh.
For example, the state of enlightenment is actually a kind of continuous orgasmic state without sexuality involved, but it can be a continuous ecstatic state.
Yeah.
Many sages have expressed that.
Orgasm, yeah, without the physical part of the orgasm.
Even without that, yes.
Interesting. So, finally, do you have any practical recommendations for people?
Yes.
Try something?
The first thing, because I see a lot of people are not, you can say, not toward the right way for this. Because we are quite remote and we have learned to use each other's. First one is make your relationship a relationship of giving. In other words, focus on giving pleasure to your partner, not so much on your own pleasure.
Okay.
A relationship you give to becomes richer and richer. With the lovemaking, focus on the love.
Focus on the love.
Focus on the love in it. The sexual part takes care of itself. If you're attracted to somebody else, you don't have to work for it. Because the moment your heart gets very involved, the sexuality becomes strongly increased too. And that will take away a lot of performance fears from men. It will give a big fulfillment for both, because what most people learn today is separation. We don't learn how to be close. There's nowhere in our education that teaches how to have a relationship with someone else. To be heart to heart, close. To love in that sense, which is a very used word. But the real love between a couple is something that keeps growing and makes you want to make your partner happy, and becomes a relationship of giving. So don't be in a hurry to reach orgasmic states. Rather focus on the love in the lovemaking. When you do that, you'll notice that the need for ejaculation starts disappearing, and the orgasmic states, when you continue long enough, they will appear. Without a shred of a doubt. They come on their own. They come when they come. Don't push them. Allow them to come.
Was that the third step?
That's the third step. For example, many women need to learn that a true deep orgasmic state doesn't come by pushing the energy down. Many women do that. They force the energy down towards the genital area to obtain something in the few minutes they have. Where a deep orgasmic state for a woman actually is a state of surrender.
So it's more about allowing orgasm rather than forcing it.
Exactly, let it happen, because it becomes like a tsunami that sort of pours over you and takes you. And that's really the deepest orgasmic states a woman can have. And for a man to experience a woman giving herself to him like that with such a state of love and surrender, it's very, very, very fulfilling for a man to experience. The main thing in it is really make the relationship less about sex and much more about love. When the love is there, when the trust is there, we can be honest, we can be fragile, we can be naked, not just physically, but really naked as persons in front of each other. And that's really what human beings are yearning for today. That is to meet a real person in front of them, not all these masks, but to let them disappear. To have that love, that when we make love, it's two people feel that they really, really meet each other. And what is it everybody really is looking for? That sex becomes a compensation for. That is to be seen and loved exactly for whom they are. Isn't it? And to love someone else for really who they are, not their mask, not their appearance, but really who they are in their essence, their being as an existence, is the most extraordinary thing. And then the love in the relationship is unbreakable, because the trust that you build up, the love you build up in a relationship by doing that, that grows. Where most people, they are scared. They're scared of being not loved if they show who they really are. Most people don't really know who they really are, so they're very afraid what the other one might see. And they dare not show themselves, and therefore we don't feel that openness and then honesty with each other. We don't take that chance. So that honesty, take a chance in each other.
Okay, nice.
That's
final advice.
That I recommend people until they have tantric practice.
Okay. And afterwards take some Tantra classes.
Yeah, learn the tantric technique, because again, Tantra is not a path to pleasure. Pleasure is a means to high revelations. But of course there's a lot of pleasure in it, though it's not the goal.
It's like a side product.
Yeah, it's kind of a side effect, or it's rather a tool we use, because what Tantra uses is intensity, to build up the intensity. And what's more intense than orgasmic states, right?
Okay.
So that's where the lovemaking becomes a tool for the tantric. Not the only tool, we have hundreds of them, but one very efficient tool.
Nice. Okay. Thank you, Maha, for taking the time. And yeah, if you want to see more videos with experts on this topic, I will post them online on this channel. And yeah, thank you.
You're very welcome.